Oh yeah, way.
Got good volume to it.
All right. Welcome to Clozer Cult podcast. I'm your host, Alma Merrill. On this podcast, we talk about all things closers, sales, real estate, investing. And today I am honored to have a guest, Bryan Hurd from Hurd Real Estate. And he's come to speak to us. So let us chat. Let us begin. Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. We have a live studio audience
I'm
too.
just grateful everyone showed up today. You know, I didn't know how many people were going to be here.
I know. Yeah, we have like several hundred in the audience. So
It's great. It's a live recording.
So Bryan and I met like a couple weeks ago, and it was a pretty cool experience. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But before we start that, I wanted to talk a little bit about you and just find out who you are. And briefly, if you can kind of go like, I grew up here. This is what I do for a living. This is what I do for fun.
Yeah.
And just get a kind of a feel for who you are. It was kind of serendipitous why, that we're on today, because I had another guest booked today who is a real estate agent as well. And she goes, I'm sorry, I can't. And I said, is this an emotional thing? Because some people will like chicken out on the podcast, Yeah. And I'm like, so I said, is this an emotional thing or is this like a business thing? Like legit something came up? And she goes, no, yeah, something came up. And so she sent me like a picture of the showings that she has to do and the buyers she has to show. So anyways, but you actually were showing some clients as well, some homes, but you were able to make it work today.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. So thank you for coming. I appreciate it. So tell me a little bit about you.
Okay. Big picture. So my name is Bryan.
Hi, Bryan.
Hi. And married, have 4 boys, 17 to 3. So we got quite a range with ages on that.
Uh-huh.
Grew up in California until I was like 16 and a half. East Bay, place called Antioch. I tell people it's in the Bible if you want to check it out.
Antioch in the Bible, okay?
Different Antioch, but Antioch. Moved to Boise when I was 16 and a half, for my junior and senior year of high school. Went to Utah State. I served an LDS mission in Spain. I've been married to my wife we're almost at 20 years. We're 18 years right
Holy
now.
cow, man. That is awesome. Congratulations.
And,
let's get a.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Huh?
Thanks, guys. Thank you. She's actually in the audience.
Yeah, hey, thank you.
Thanks,
What's her name?
Chandy.
Chandy? Oh, cool. That's a great name.
And yeah, man, I got my degree in accounting. I quickly realized like that was not going to be the path of life for me. My father-in-law was
too boring.
Yeah, dude, it was just not me.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I was trying to force it. It felt like a safe play. In the end, I had no passion for it at all. So
right, I have no passion for it either.
No,
and I wasn't going into it.
No. I can remember I'd sit in class and I'd like look at people and I'd be like, I'm not like these people. And I just remember thinking like there was like this internal conflict going on inside of me all the time because I'm like, this isn't my gig. It's these people's gig. I just need to find my gig. And I knew that if I had like a mentor, I was working with people and I had some level of like autonomy to it and I believed in what I was doing, I could probably figure it out. Right. And accounting was like none of those things.
Honestly, getting to know you the last few like weeks or months, I would see that you would be burnt out and bored by something like that. Now, some people love that crap. Like my accountant, he's an amazing accountant. He somehow makes it fun and amazing and cool. Yeah. But for me, and for you, not really.
Not really. Yeah, that's right. And so, I mean, I got into real estate in 2005. So I feel like I've seen a cycle of real estate kind of multiple times.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's been good, you know, like I kind of feel like there's no good or bad. It's just like I'm always learning,
Right.
you know?
Right. Yeah.
So
Okay. So that's your story.
that's
And-
the quick version.
And
yes.
tell me right now, what do you do in your business as far as you know, with your team
Right.
or with your company? What do you focus on? Is it residential? Is it commercial? Is it land? What is it?
So that's a good question. Residential has been my bread and butter, and the dynamics of my team has changed this year.
Mhm.
Like I used to have a team like anywhere from like 6 to probably 8 people, similar to you.
Kind of like mine. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And earlier this year, I made some changes, and you know, I felt like I wanted to simplify some things down, and so I'd say most of my business is referral. I have a good database of people, and I do a lot of client events, and it
Which
kind of
the pumpkin patch is coming up.
yes,
Right.
pumpkin patch
So
is coming up.
I'm excited for that. I'm going. We're going.
I
We'll be
hope-
there.
I was
We
gonna
will
say-
RSVP.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to meet your family too.
Yeah, definitely.
So like that's kind of the way that I've just gone about doing real estate. I imagine this perfect world where it's like, what if I could just go out and be me every day and look for ways to help and serve people and build a business from it?
Right.
Sounds a lot easier than it is, you know? But when I come back to that core of like, hey, this is like a calling, it's a responsibility.
It's a stewardship. It's
Yeah.
leadership.
It's an opportunity to really be in somebody's life in a period of time where they need guidance and help. I mean, I would say especially right now, right?
Right.
And so, like real estate checks a lot of boxes for me.
So what made you say, okay, the team structure? Because for me, when I had the same type of team. I had like 8 to 10 to 12 people, and we were running strong for several years. I had some guys on there as long as 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
And at some point, I just said, hey, I can't serve enough people by doing this as far as client wise. I can't serve more clients by having a team. For me, and some guys figure it out. Like they get this ability to like have a team and, you know, have 20, 30 people on their team, and they're able to do more numbers. For me, it was like the more people I had on the team, the less numbers personally I was able to do, and the more money I was spending on other people.
Yeah.
So what was your dynamic like that said, okay, or what was the change like that you said, okay, I'm going to adjust this and minimize or simplify?
That's a good question.
Was it more for like a calling purpose? Because you definitely have a calling.
Yeah.
With your other mission with the Evolution Project, which we will talk a little bit more about.
It's a beautiful looking bottle.
It
Love
is.
that.
This is my favorite, man. So I attended his Evolution Project, and we'll talk a little bit about it here in a sec. But this has been like a staple of my current existence is the bottle, because it reminds me of the things that we did there and the time that we had.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So tell me, what made you decide, hey, let's go
Okay, so
simplify?
If I could tell you the simplest version of this is, there is a period of my life where the team served a purpose for me and I served a purpose for the team. Like it was very like
Right.
everybody was getting a great thing out of it. And the simple truth is as I've gone into this shift of like, now really it's like myself and then like an admin and someone that helps me out with marketing. So it is boiled down.
It's minimized.
Like, for example, I was out showing houses like a year or two ago. Like that probably, I wouldn't have been out showing.
You would have
a house.
never shown a house. Yeah.
No.
I remember there was a period of time where it was probably 5 years that I had not shown a house.
Yeah.
And I just started to do a few showings recently.
Right.
Now, granted, our market's changing.
That's
and
right.
numbers are dwindling, and inventory starting in our personal inventory is starting to drop. Even though the listed inventory is increasing, my personal like buyers and sellers and stuff, they're starting to deteriorate or drop in my personal business.
Yeah. I think, obviously rate increase. I think a lot of people, you look over the last 3 years, I think a lot of people got choked out of the market because they couldn't compete.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are getting choked out right now because of interest rates.
Right.
Right. I mean, it's just like, and I do think prices will continue to come down because they have to.
Right. They must, right?
Yeah, I think that's inevitable. I just think the in-between is always messy. And that's actually a good way to kind of describe like where I'm at right now is like, I'm definitely in an in-between, you know? for a long time, my identity.
Explain that. Yeah, explain that, the in between thing to me.
Yeah, well, for a long time, my identity was like I don't find it a coincidence that I named my real estate team Be Hurd in Utah, right? Now, my name is Bryan Hurd, so it's a nice little play on words.
Right. Yeah.
But the truth is,
It's almost like those billboards on the freeway, like, we hear you. Be heard.
Right. Be Hurd, your trusted voice in Utah real estate. Dun, dun, dun. Like, enter the cool little song. You could probably do a cool song on that.
Yeah, we probably could.
But like for a long time, when I started Be Heard in Utah, it's like I had a song to sing and I had something that I really wanted to do, and it's like I wanted to share it with a lot of people, and I quickly realized that I couldn't do it all by myself, and so naturally, like, people came into the mix as time went on that I feel like I was able to add a lot of value into their life, and they added a lot of value into my life, right? And they continue to help move the mission forward, and they identified with the way we do business, and like, and it was like more holistic, right? Like, I really believe that life is like an inside out game.
Okay.
So whether I'm selling real estate or, you know, I'm doing, or I'm a CPA, like at the end of the day,
don't be a CPA.
Yeah, but don't, for anyone that's a CPA out there, hang in there.
All right.
Okay?
If you love it, you love it. All right. If you found amazing, strategies for your business, awesome. Dude, I couldn't read till I was 12. I couldn't write till I was 21. So for me, the idea of even doing numbers like that would just drive me bonkers.
Yeah. And I just think that, like, what I feel like was, what is a constant is like, I believe in personal growth. I believe that we all need a vocation in life that hopefully is in alignment as much as possible with our true self. And because the truth is like, we do have to work in this life.
Right.
We do need to do something because life costs money.
Right. We might as well enjoy the process, right?
Right. And my thing is like, I mean, what's the reality that I'm going to like whatever I do 10 days out of 10? Probably less likely.
Right.
But if I can like 7 to 8 days out of 10, I'm probably living a pretty good life, right?
Yeah. If you're at least 80%, I think you're doing pretty dang good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would tell you, real estate fits that bill for me. Like, the three things that are guiding principles in my life is authentic relationships, meaningful work, and just being in flow with life.
Okay.
Where like
having a good rhythm.
Yeah, and it's like the ocean, right?
Right.
It's like just kind of like the ocean is just doing the ocean, right?
It's not asking anybody permission to do the ocean.
Yeah. And like, imagine, this is where I go back to that whole case. Like, imagine if my life was in a fluid thing where it's like, whether I'm doing the Evolution Project, I'm selling real estate, I'm coaching my kids' team, I'm helping out in my neighborhood or whatever, right?
Right.
Like, I'm still being me in every one of those spaces. It's just like, I believe life is more about who I am than what I do, but what I do greatly influences,
right,
like how I choose to show up, right?
Well, and I think you're highly influential. Like, just the meetings that I've had with you and the short time that I've gotten to know you over the few weeks, has been highly influential for me. And so, and part of it's probably because you simplify everything. Like, when we were doing before the Evolution Project, and what happened was Louis hits me up and he includes you on the video text that he sends, and Louis sends me this video text, my buddy Louis, and he goes, Alma, and this is here he is. Here's Louis.
Shout out to Louis, by the way.
Alma, just want you to know that there's this thing coming up, and it's called this Evolution Project, and I really think this is a good time for you to do this. I think this is the right thing for you right now. I've included Bryan on this, and I just think it's the right thing for you. And that was it. That was it. And from that, I'm like, all right, I trust Louis so much. Like, I don't care what this is. I'm in. Let's just do this. I'm in. Yeah.
Which is cool. That actually was your response. You literally, your video text back was, hey, I'm in. And it was like within 10 minutes. And I remember thinking, wow, Alma's decisive. Like, this is great. He knows basically nothing about this. And because he trusts Louis, like, he wants to come. And that's actually a really great, like, model with anything in life. Because what I found with the Evolution Project, I was telling you this today, like, the hardest part is gathering the group. Because when I'm what I know is that when I feel like I'm trying to sell it to somebody,
Uh-huh.
it's a totally different
It's not
energy.
as natural, huh?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because I find myself in the conversation and I like literally can hear like an internal dialogue going like, do they really want to come?
It's kind of like that with real estate too, you know? It's
Sure.
like if you're trying to reach out to a prospect or you're trying to get someone to you're trying to convince someone to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
If you get on that, and that's the difference really between that personability that you can kind of create with a great relationship and
Yeah.
fantastic rapport
Mm-hmm.
versus I'm a salesman and I need some money,
Yeah.
because the Evolution Project is not cheap. But I'll tell you one thing, the value was immense for me.
You know what's so cool? After like the first like hour or two, you came up to me and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I already feel like I've gotten my value out
I've
of
gotten my
coming to
value
this."
out of it. Yeah.
And what was
I could go home right now and it was worth my investment.
and I just want you to know for me, that was like in my mind, literally my first thought was like, dude, brother, like we're just getting started. Like I'm glad that you found value in this
Yeah.
and like it's going to be really great. And I just want you to know that when you said that, that was like a really good, it created good mojo for me while I was, in that experience with everybody. Cause I was just like,
Yeah.
Alma's vested, like
You-
he's here.
You told me that this was kind of the first time you kind of disconnected a little bit more and
Yeah.
became part of in the experience more than just running it or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the 10th time we've done it. And it was
So let's
actually the
real
2-year
quick.
anniversary. Yeah.
So we've already kind of delved into it. So I think it's the right time. Let's talk about what the Evolution Project is.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me how you kind of came up with it, because from my perspective, this thing is totally inspired. Now there's a bazillion of these different, these retreats, right? Men retreats, there's circles like these, circle retreats and things like that. But for me, this was and I've done so much coaching. I've been a coach for years in real estate. I've been in the business for 20 years. I've been in coaching in real estate. I've been in coaching for your mind. I've gone through tons of counseling and things like that. I've gone to Tony Robbins events. I'm going on my 4th Unleash the Power Within. And then I did one of his awesome virtual events. So there's been a lot of refinement over the last probably 10 years of my life that have been based on coaching and mentoring and training and things like that. And for me, the Evolution Project was very unique and very personalized.
Yeah.
And whereas sometimes a Tony Robbins or something like that isn't as personalized, it's very, even though you get a personal message out of it and hopefully a personal conclusion.
Yeah.
But so tell me why the Evolution Project. How did you come up with it? What was your brainchild for that project, and why did you start it? And what is it?
Let's do a shout out to Tony Robbins because I think he's in the audience too today.
Yeah, Tony's here. Hey, thanks, dude. Tony. Yeah. Hey, thank you, brother. Thanks for being here.
See you in November, Tony.
Yeah, see you in November.
Oh, geez.
Right.
Okay, so here's how it happened. Alma, have you ever had an experience in your life where it's like you knew something was inside of you, but you just kind of kept it dormant for a while?
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe even like the Clozer Cult, right? Like that probably was inside of you for longer than the last year.
It's been inside of me for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Evolution Project was like that. Now, here's the deal. I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
But I know for me, like a theme is like men. If you look at my team, most everyone that's been on my team has been a man.
Okay.
Right. So like the common themes is like.
Is that because you like specifically like dudes? Or
Yeah, that's right.
Does your sweetheart know this? I mean,
well, so it's funny you say that because I remember one time I was talking to someone and they were just like, "Why are there always dudes on your team?" And because I think women are great too. Like, I actually think women are some awesome real estate agents as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And there were a few women on our team that were. But the irony is they all had brothers, so like they were used to like being around the guys, I guess.
Right.
I think something that I just really believe in is like the responsibility of being a man. And I mean this in like a holistic range. There's so many things in society that I personally think men are getting attacked a lot in society,
Yeah,
right?
masculinity in general.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I think, dude, the breath of a man isn't just some dude that works and comes home and his wife makes him a sandwich and he reads the paper and goes to bed, right?
Right.
Like that's not masculine. Or yelling at your kid and telling him to be tough. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Or whipping out the belt and using it on them. Yeah,
Right.
that's not masculinity.
No, and that's why when there was this concept of toxic masculinity, I'm like, yeah, like men have actually contributed to this conversation.
Yeah.
We've done more damage than good probably in this conversation. But the other truth is I'm like, but not everyone is like this. Like this is a pigeonhole of a group of what we've defined as, you know, toxic masculinity. But the truth is like, no, masculinity and femininity are beautiful
And critical.
and absolutely critical, and actually within the same being. Like
Right.
it's not like you're just a masculine dude. Like the more that we can, I heard someone say it like this, and I loved the concept of it. And I may get it reversed, but they basically said like masculinity is femininity is the lantern and masculinity is the light. Right?
Okay. Uh-huh.
They both need each other.
That makes
Right,
sense.
to harness it fully. And like so let's go back to where this came from. So I knew that what I would do with my team is exactly what the Evolution Project was. Like I was trying to get them on their edge. I was trying to do things with the team that wasn't always sales related, but I knew that if I could crack them and get them really committed to like the life that they want, like really make it tangible.
Why not just a ropes course, man? Why not just climb some ropes?
Well, it's those are all places where it's good, like trust falls and stuff. The concept is good, but it's like the journey inside is the real juice, right?
Right.
And really
The emotional journey inside. Yeah.
And I think what the Evolution Project was is it was like this pure desire that I wanted to create, where I have taken bits and pieces. I don't think the Evolution Project is unique in the sense of the stuff we do there. I think you could find that in other places.
Right.
I think what makes it unique is the environment that's created that allows people to like fully vest in it.
I agree in that. Yeah, because you have, more than just things to do or stuff to learn or things to say. You've put it in an environment. You've put it in a place that seems really special.
Yeah.
You've put it in in this, and really the talent that you have with you, like your other leaders that help you. I don't know if you call them leaders or whatever you want to call them, but
Yeah.
the other participants that help people like myself that had never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
It's a total feeling. It really is. I mean, the way that, you kind of walk to your yurt, and you have this kind of journey to get to your yurt. And then you have this journey back to the village. And then you have, it's like, or back to it's kind of cool. Like how you have it laid out, where it's at, what you do. It's just, I think the environment in general is very appealing and very conducive to healing, to production, like mental production, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. The analogy that I give with the Evolution Project, I say that it's an inward compression for an outward expansion, right?
Okay.
And that's even what the logo looks like, right? The logo is this, essentially, if you look at it, you can look at it in two ways. One way the logo looks is like it's this. If you look at the blue, it's like roots coming down to a ball,
Right.
and then if you look at the silver, it's expansion coming out. And I think life is an inside-out process, and the more work that I do on the inside, the more I'm able to give and show up and be on the outside.
Right.
And I mean, this is the same stuff Buddha taught. It's the same stuff Jesus taught. I mean, these concepts are not like foreign, right? I mean, they're truths.
And one thing that I found is interesting about these concepts is they do live within us.
Totally.
Because it's part of our creation. It's part of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
But the Evolution Project for me was an environment and a place that was being held for me to be able to experience those inner things that I needed to experience.
That's right.
And to let out some of the shit that was in my existence that I needed to let out.
Yeah.
And it was just such a phenomenal environment. And it wasn't weird. That was what was cool. Like some, like some of the other, I don't know, circles or whatever that I've seen just kind of seem a little too, my wife calls it hippie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And no disrespect to that environment. That will draw and reflect and heal the right type of people for that environment.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I'm not a hippie. And so it's hard for me to sink into environments that are not more logical or that are more, 2020 based,
Mm-hmm.
22 based rather than 1978 based environment. You know what I mean?
No, I mean, I think
it's like here and now is important to me,
one of the concepts I really like is this concept of like Eastern and Western philosophy.
Okay.
So take the word, for example, surrender. So surrender in the Western philosophy is like a white flag.
Okay.
Right? We're going to take the hill, right? We're going up the hill. We're going to defeat the enemy,
the adversary.
The adversary waves the white flag.
Okay.
They have surrendered. Mission accomplished, right?
Right.
Western philosophy. Eastern philosophy of surrender. It's letting go of. It's being. It's a natural state. It's everything you're not, right? It's the same word, but it's received completely different, right? Alma, you and I have grown up in a Western philosophy.
Right.
Everything about, literally, we live in the West, right?
Right.
But I mean, it's just like these concepts, and I'm not saying they're bad. I'm just saying like, I don't believe though Western. I think we've got it wrong in a lot of like Western concepts, and I think what's cool is that Eastern kind of like gets the bridge because
it kind of brings that other element in.
Sure, because I mean, I think, things that I associate with Western is like ego, right?
Okay, yeah,
because
definitely.
Because I'm concerned about what you think about me, right? I'm concerned about winning. And by the way, it's not bad to want nice things. It's not bad to have nice things,
right?
Right. But what I say is like, imagine being complete and whole, regardless if you have any of those things.
Right, you're complete without having those things. Yeah,
I'm just like, because I am. Like the simple statement of I am is so powerful because there's no because, there's no clause, there's no justification to it.
Right.
I am.
And some of the things we did in that environment, and I don't know how much you want to share, I found them to be more than just kind of, they were special. They were sacred.
Totally.
Those were moments that I'll remember the rest of my life. And those are things that I did that I didn't know that I was going to be able to do.
Yeah.
And I was very scared in some of the processes that we did.
Yeah.
I was very scared. And then once I did it, I was like,
yeah,
that was the my favorite thing that I did.
Once you get used to being naked, it's not a big deal anymore.
Right. Yeah. And then and shaking it in front of the other guys was what was so unique to me,
That's one of my favorite things because, like, anytime you say you're doing a guys' retreat, there's always one dude that's like, all right, like, when do we get naked?
Well, are we wearing loincloths or, yeah.
It's so funny. It's like such a natural response because, like,
Dude,
it's a way to ease the tension.
Yeah, just to be clear, we don't get naked
Yeah.
at the Evolution Project.
Yeah.
But several people thought we would at some point, but no.
Yeah, I mean, so the question you were asking me, say that again.
So I guess really where I'm going with it is what causes perspective, what causes it? Because you kind of brainchilded this thing, and I'm sure there's different resources that you chose to get the content created and put together, like the hero's journey, like the meditations, like the breath work that we did, which was phenomenal, like the ice bath, which was bonkers. That scared the crap out of me.
Yeah,
but was one of the most amazing experiences of my life.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of helped you bring all this stuff together and say, these are the aspects I want with this project that are actually going to cause people to heal and come out of their freaking shell.
Yeah.
And stop fucking around with their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I created the Evolution Project during COVID. So that's like the background is like I had this day where I woke up, and the best way I could describe it is like it's what I imagine being depressed feels like.
Did you have COVID when you
No.
had this day? No, okay.
But it was in June of COVID, so we'd been in like isolation for a good few months, and I'm a very social person.
Uh-huh.
So that in itself was challenging, but there was also just this feeling of like lack of control. Like I just felt like everything was being taken away from me. And there was a part of me that like wasn't okay with it, right? And I ended up getting a call.
Meaning as far as like socially and business and things like that?
Yeah, and just
what you're used to being taken from you.
yeah, and I mean I know this polarizes people, but just the narrative of COVID I hated.
Okay.
Like I felt like it was a very fear-based narrative.
I think most people feel that way now. Even if you were one way or the other about COVID, I think most people look at it now and go, okay, yeah, that was kind of effed up how it happened, and it wasn't taken care of correctly.
Yeah, I mean, like people, like the death rate was like less than 1%, right? Like even less than that, like way small,
Right.
way small,
Way small. Yeah.
and
Less than like 1/100 of 1%.
right.
Yeah.
And like people were living like the actual plague had hit Earth, and everyone was going to get wiped out.
Yeah.
And I don't like that feeling, right? And maybe that's my like wanting to control a situation, but I just hated
the gun
narrative.
dealers loved it.
Sure.
The survivalists loved it.
That's right. That's right. So during that period, I had this day where honestly, I just didn't want to get out of bed. Like I got out of bed and then I just went back to bed. And I just was like in this state where I just felt like everything was out of control. I get a phone call from a friend. I meant to hang up the call, but I ended up picking it up. We have this conversation. I basically
Meaning you weren't going to pick up the phone. You didn't want to talk to him.
No, yeah, I didn't want to, and it was a her. I didn't want to talk to her, and she was just checking in on me. And the nature of the conversation basically just went about, I complained for a good 10 minutes of all the things I hated and all the things I was feeling, and then she asked me the best question. She said, "So what are you going to do about it?" And my first response was nothing. I'm going to do nothing about it. What do you want me to do about it? I can't do anything. And then she's like, well, there's probably something that you need. And I said, you want to know what it is? I said, I feel like I'm dying inside. I have this thing that I've visioned for 3 years, and I haven't done a damn thing in 3 years.
Tony Robbins says if you are not growing, you're dying.
And and the Evolution Project was literally dying inside of me. And it felt like that. Like it felt like something was dying inside. And we're living organisms, right?
Right.
And something dying inside of a living organism is not going to end well, right? Like that's what we call cancer, essentially.
Right.
Right. And I just remember in that moment, I was like, so what am I going to do about this? And we ended up having this really great talk. And she happens to be a coach, and she's put on events like this. And I just said, would you help me? And she said, yeah. I wrote her a check that day for $5,000
for her consulting.
Okay. And for the next 4 months, every Thursday at 11 o'clock, we got on a phone call. Sometimes it was a half an hour, sometimes it was 45 minutes, sometimes it was an hour. And we built out the Evolution Project. And one of the things that we did is I knew that the hero's journey was a huge part of the conversation.
Which that aspect of it was something I had never heard of before.
Yeah. But then when you hear about it, it's so natural.
Oh, yeah. It was like, I'd never heard of it, but it felt like home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can see, because we think in terms of containers, and we think, and so when we can put our life, when we can add meaning to a circumstance or put things in a container, we can start to understand it. Like that's when we can start to have a shift, because now we're processing ourselves instead of somebody else's story.
Right.
Now I can see other people in my story, which is cool. But like the greater picture is like that's how I built the Evolution Project. It's essentially a module where there's a topic. Now think about this. You've been through it now.
Okay. Right.
There's a topic.
Right.
There's a discussion. There's an activity.
Right.
And there's a journaling session.
Right.
So there's essentially 4 or 5 modules that we walk people through
each day.
Right. And they get to a place where they walk out and they have a tangible experience where they have like mentally processed it, physically processed it, captured it, got their own uploads. And then when they go,
we've smelled it.
yeah,
Right,
everything.
visually, yeah.
Do you notice how I'm using senses all the time?
Oh yeah, like you used sight, you used sound, you used smell, you used physical, like touch. Yeah,
Like all of them are being utilized because it's
you used spiritual,
for sure.
which
Third
was
eye kind of,
third
yeah,
eye
yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
And
which
that's
was crazy to me.
isn't it interesting?
Dude, the very first thing we did, the face-to-face
Yeah.
thing that we did, I have never seen another person that way before,
Mm-hmm.
ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And I feel like I'm good at eye contact and communication and socialization and all these things.
Yeah.
Until I had experienced that, like I felt like, dude, I know nothing about anybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know nothing about people until I did that. And I went, holy hell, this guy, blank, 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 and that, this is who this person is.
Yeah.
And to be able to go through that process was like very eye-opening to me. Cause then I was like, how do people view me?
That's right.
What do they see in me?
Yeah. Paradigm shifts.
Totally.
The more that we can integrate those things. So that's, and I'll be honest with you, something that's really cool is the people that are helping out, they're bringing their own unique experience. So like, for example, that circle of trust that we did,
Right. Right.
that was not in the agenda.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
So that was me and Louis talking around the campfire, before the campfire actually. And he's like, hey, I've got this idea. And so this is like one of the things that I'm learning.
Louis highly inspired, by the way.
Oh,
like this
dude.
guy, Louis. I've known him for about 10 years now, probably.
Mm-hmm.
And every conversation I get with Louis, I feel like I recreated our friendship. And I feel like he gave me way more than I could ever give him.
Yeah. Louis special.
Yeah.
So it was like, but that's what's cool. Like there's this flow that happens as we do it. And it's cool because every event has its own experience, dude. I don't know how to
Right.
describe it because the people, like when you talked about when it's personalized, like, and like one of the things I'm trying to do when I get the group together is the reason I call you and have that conversation is because I'm trying to see if you would be someone that would actually get value from it.
Right.
And you can get a window. And what's happened is a lot of people will self-select themselves out because they'll either say like, that's not my message, right?
Right.
Like that's not what I'm looking for. The reason there's a monetary association with it is like, that's the fastest way to find out if someone's serious.
Right. If they really want to grow, change, progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I'll be candid with you. When I first said yes to Louis, I didn't know what the monetary valuation
You
was.
were like,
right?
oh boy.
And then when I found out, I was a little bit taken back because most things like this don't have that dollar sign on them.
Right.
But my wife, I said, look, I don't really know what I really don't even know what this is. Like, and she goes, well, ask yourself a question. Do you trust and love Louis? I'm all, yes, indefinitely. Do you completely trust? Yes, I completely trust Louis. Like, and she goes, then that's all you need to know. Just go do it. And I'm like, okay. And then that's when, I sent you the Venmo and I was like done. But it was like, there was still this, I call it the drunk monkey, right? On my shoulder that's going, you're not worth shit.
Yeah.
This won't fix you.
Yeah.
There's nothing here for you.
You just wasted
Use
your money.
Yeah, but you're going to burn your money. Dipshit. You can't accomplish anything by this. What do you think it's going to be? Go hang out with a bunch of guys around a fire.
Yeah.
Like there's a little drunk monkey. And I think we all have that in our mind, this thing that's trying to hold us back. And Jennifer goes, look, she goes, if you trust Louis and you believe in him, then take a moment, believe in yourself, and then just go have an experience.
Totally.
And I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's do it. I'm in. Okay. You sold me,
Yeah.
And the money to me was literally like what I told you, like partway through day one. It was like, it mattereth not
Mm-hmm.
the amount. It was the experience, what you guys have done to put, to put it all together, the place, the feelings, the emotions behind it gave me a message that was more valuable than the dollars that I put into it. And it became extremely valuable. So it wasn't about the money. It was about the value that I had out of it.
Yeah. I couldn't have said it better myself. Like that's exactly right. Like, that which we invest in, we value. Right. And all I'm trying to do is say you're worth $1,000 for a day and a half experience.
Right. And that's all it was. It was only $1,000.
It's not like 10 grand or anything.
$12,000 to $14,000. It was $1,000, but it was just, it was different than what most of these things do as far as value point or price point. And so I questioned it, and I'm glad I questioned it, because you should question things. But then when your gut and your heart and your soul tells you, and your wife, who's smarter than you, tells you, do this, go do this, I think you need to do this. Yeah. Then you do. And Jennifer's like a Reiki master, and she's very spiritual, and she's very in tune with things. She's kind of my guiding light,
That's so great.
And so I kind of listen to her, but it didn't matter. The value was so high. The price of $1,000 didn't matter to me.
That's cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just look into this, guys. If you just feel like shit inside and you're having issues, whether it's like with your relationship, whether it's with, your business, you can't get your head straight, you have PTSD, trauma memories, anything like that, I'm telling you that, and we weren't even going to talk about really this today. I was really more going to talk about real estate, and sales in general and stuff like that. But I think, organically it kind of went here, but this is something that if I was in a bad place, where I've been in multiple times, and I'll be candid, before I went, I was in the right place to receive this information. I wouldn't say I was in a bad place. I feel like I'm in a really good place, but there were these decisions that I felt like I couldn't make. And usually I'm really decisive. Like when Louis is like, hey, I think you need to do this. I'm like, I'm in. Don't know what it is, but I'm in. I'm usually really decisive. But on some things in my life, I have not been able to be as decisive as I like to be.
Yeah.
And so for me, the Evolution Project, even though I didn't feel like I was in dire straits of where I've been before, it enabled me to make fantastic decisions and release some shit that has been plaguing me for years.
Yeah.
And and I guess it was just because I didn't have an environment that was tuned to do that for me.
Totally.
And so the Evolution Project did that for me.
So something I'd kind of add into that. First off, like seriously, like this is me touch my chest because I'm feeling that what you're saying.
I love that, by the way. That's something they do at the Evolution Project. It's like, so you don't interrupt somebody when they're going off. They do this. Like, I feel you.
I feel you, brother.
I feel you.
Something that I'd say is that the way I've built the Evolution Project is it's going to meet you wherever you're at.
That makes sense. Totally.
I've had people come to that have just come out of like selling a company or like a really high note, and they're kind of like, what's next?
Right.
I've had people that have come to it that are recently divorced.
Right.
Or been through some really difficult stuff, or have some baggage they just need to get out. Right. Which, let's be honest, everybody's got something that they're holding on to.
For sure.
Yeah,
we're all broken. We're all broken little kids that are now adults that we need to be fixed.
And so we need to come out. And so like what I love about the Evolution Project is like, it really does meet everyone where they're at. And I believe it's like it's not just a healing, it's an empowering. Like you're going to leave that event saying, I am the hero of my own journey.
Right.
And like, I'm ready to go out, and like, now I have a framework
right
that I can view my life in, and I can say like, hey, I got some calls to answer now.
You know what it gave a lot of guys that I talked to?
What?
Gave them a why.
Bingo, man. So when I told you, I said the first level of the hero's journey is like to realize you're the hero of your own journey, and like connect. The next conversation, which next September is Evolution 1, by the way. That's the continuation of the conversation, which I'm really excited about.
Okay.
And
What do you mean by that? Tell me what.
so the next conversation is basically once you realize you're the hero of your own journey, the next conversation is who am I?
Okay, gotcha.
And I mean at like a core level, like what do I really stand for? Who am I really? I mean, because what I think happens is we go through life and we identify
What is my destiny?
Right. Well, there's this narrative that's always being thrown at us, and that might be a religious narrative. That might be a narrative from your parents. That might be a narrative that you put on yourself,
Right.
right? That it's like maybe it served a purpose in your life, but it's like, does it still actually serve a purpose in your life?
Right. Or did it ever? Yeah.
Or is it even your freaking narrative?
Right.
Is it yours?
Is it someone else's narrative? That's something that I had experienced, and I've experienced recently.
Yeah.
Is that I've been living most of my I'm 43 now.
Yeah.
And I've been living most of my life off of someone else's narrative.
Yeah.
Off of someone else's belief system, off of someone else's concepts,
Yeah.
their emotions, their mental state. So yeah, totally get that.
Yep. So that's interesting. And like what I really love is the Evolution Project right now. It fills a big portion of my life. And it's interesting enough, a lot of the feelings that I got in running a team, I actually get from doing the Evolution Project.
Right.
And the difference is,
As far as the service and that type of thing.
oh, totally, and doing meaningful work and helping people and feeling like I'm doing something that matters, like that absolutely like meets those things, for sure.
Right.
And like I've kind of given myself like this year to just figure out like what do I really want, I've realized
You feel like you're kind of on your journey too.
Oh,
with
for
this whole
sure.
process. And that was something I felt too, is that all the participants, I felt like we were just as intertwined with the people that were guiding the process as we were kind of coming up with our own. They were all going through their own stuff too,
Dude, that's the fallacy. The fallacy is that the leader has everything figured out.
Right, exactly.
And the actual truth is the leader maybe has one or two things figured out enough to like continue the conversation. But the reality is what makes a leader a great leader is they're in the battle with you.
I loved seeing the leaders come out too
Yeah.
in that process.
Totally.
Like some of the people that were leaders, I would have never guessed would be leaders. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They became leaders. And it was fun to follow the people that I least expected to be leaders, which, maybe I shouldn't have had that perception.
But this is what we do as men.
It's what we do, right? We figure people out, we watch them, and we
create hierarchy. We we put people in boxes. One of the
Right.
reasons I don't have people talk about what they do at the Evolution Project is because the joke is
for a living. Yeah.
Yeah, because the joke is the guy would get up and say, "My name's Steve. I'm a neurosurgeon," and then
Right.
guy would say, "My name's Bob, and I'm a janitor," and then
Dude, and there were-
immediately, right, you'd be like,
Yeah.
"Well, Steve's really smart." And Bob must not have tried hard enough in life,
Right.
And it's
I'm
like that has
Bryan. I'm a computer program. I'm a numbers guy.
right. And we would just start. We just start, putting people in boxes. And the thing is the second we start to judge and put people in boxes, which is very natural, like we almost miss the gift because you'd miss the gift of that with that person.
I would have missed it on a couple people.
For sure.
Then now that I know who they are, but here's the coolest thing about that. Now I see them from a totally fresh perspective of love and compassion and understanding of who they had to be to become who they are.
That's right.
What they had to do to become who they are.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Dude, I love that you've done this. Honestly, it's one of the greatest gifts that I've given myself. And really, I should say it's one of the greatest gifts that my wife has given me.
I'd love to meet your wife sometime, by the way.
Oh, she's phenomenal, man. Like, just an outstanding human being, just amazing human being. Very dedicated, very down to earth, very sweet, very compassionate. And which is why she kind of got into the spiritual arts, if you will. I guess I don't even really know if that's what you'd call them, but she wants people to be better people, including me. I'm her biggest patient, like if she was a doctor, man.
Well, and you're her biggest fan too, probably, right?
Yeah. On that journey, I call it the journey, I call it the project, I call it the journey. I have a couple nicknames for the Evolution Project. I learned that she's my greatest mentor, that she's the one who has mentored me through my life, because what does the mentor do? Leads the hero back to himself.
That's right. That's the role of the mentor.
I'm like, holy crap, my greatest mentor have been two different women in my life.
Mm-hmm.
One, my mom, who was highly abusive and neglectful of me, and became a great mentor through those experiences as to what not to do.
Yeah.
And then my wife, who's polar opposite, who's the guiding life of my life, the guiding light of my life and my children's life, has become that mentor to me. She directs myself back to me all the time. She leads me back to my own soul and says, this is who you really are. And I love that the Evolution Project kind of pops that open, for guys to go, okay, who are my mentors and who leads me back to myself? Because one of the great truths is that everything we need to know about our life and everything that we need to do to be our best selves and live our best existence is already within us. It's already been gifted to us. We just need sometimes a place to bring it out. And I think that's kind of what the project has done.
It's so cool to hear your direct experience with it.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, and I know, it's over in 48 hours or whatever. I don't even know how long it was, but
isn't that crazy? It's
like
the amount of ground we cover. Think about this, Alma. We start at 9 o'clock on a Friday.
Right.
And we ended about 2 o'clock on a Saturday.
It's wild, man. I felt like I was there for 2 weeks.
Dude. And we cover so much ground, but that's what happens when you create a safe environment where people feel loved. They don't feel judged. They're united in purpose.
Right.
Right. And like the guards are down. Like you can let go of things that maybe have been there your whole life. And I think another fallacy is like, I went to the Evolution Project. I've killed that dragon. And what's interesting for me, my experience, is that I used to think my life was about slaying dragons. There are things that serve no more purpose in my life.
Slaying dragons meaning?
Well, the concept, that's very masculine, right?
Right.
Because what's behind you're slaying the dragon ultimately to like save the princess.
Right.
Like, that is
part of the hero's journey.
Right. That's how it's like been architected and built. Or it's the treasure is how Joseph Campbell said. He said the cave that you fear holds the treasure that you seek, is a Joseph Campbell line. And like for me, a lot of this year has been about going into the cave. And it's funny because
Aladdin should have told Jafar, go get that freaking thing yourself, my friend.
That's right.
You'll become a better person.
That's right.
And not a dick.
It's not mine, it's yours. It's your monkey.
Right.
And like a lot of this year has been that for me, right? It's like I used to think like, oh, I went in that cave, but it's like the truth is like I went into the cave where I was comfortable.
Right.
And then I kind of never really addressed it. And it's like now I've actually really started to go past the points of where I thought I was comfortable. These edges is what I like to call it, right?
Right.
Where I'm, this is a good analogy we use at the hero's journey is like the Evolution Project is a place where people go, where we take off our armor that we think protects us and serves us.
And it feels great there too. Like when we do that kind of, that visualization, it really did make you feel comfortable and ready to receive that stuff.
And the bigger level is that it's not just that you're taking off your armor, you're realizing that when you go back, you actually don't need that armor anymore. You actually have a whole, like if we've done our job correctly, you go, I'm not only enough without this, I'm more than enough without my armor. All
Right.
these things that I used to describe me, it's not me anymore. That's not who I am. This is actually who I am. I am. And so like for example, when you had that clarity around your mentors, like how cool is it that you were able to identify your mother as a mentor?
That was crazy for me
Because you
by
would
the
have
way.
never thought that before.
No, I never thought that. No,
I'm sure you actually thought the opposite
I
of that.
avoided her most of my life. And then after she passed away, I had very little emotion for her because of our experiences together. And then after she passed away, and I've had several experiences with her where I feel like I have a better understanding of who she was actually, as opposed to who I knew her as in my life.
Yeah.
She didn't intend to do those things and have those experiences in her life, you know.
Maybe she was doing the best she could.
She was doing the best she could, for sure. And my relationship with her now versus when she was alive is much better, you know.
Do you feel like you've had closure on that for you?
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. Like, yeah, I mean, I just felt like it was hanging over me for so long. I was so perplexed by my life and my intention and my identity. And I feel like I've had closure on that and been able to actually more so indulge in some of the traumas and help other people through their experiences.
Yeah. That's the gift. There's always a gift, man.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, if I really believe that life is constantly happening for me, if I really believe that, that's a very bold statement. It's a bold, bold statement if I really believe it. There's statements that I think that we say or that we like passe like here, and we're like, oh yeah, life is always happening for you. But it's like, is it really?
Right.
Because there's moments where you're going to be like, how on earth did that happen for me?
Right.
That served no purpose.
Well, like today, you know, that was I always try to have that motto: life is happening for me and not to me. And that even the traumas and the pains are a gift. And today I was like really looking forward to having this other gal on the program.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe it's not her right time to be on here. But when she canceled, I was like, mother effer, man.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell, dude? Why are you canceling? Do you not see value in this? Is this not important enough for you? We had this scheduled, you know? And then I went, no, hold on. I had to catch myself, you know?
That's right.
I had to catch myself, and I said, all right, life happens for me and not to me. So who can I call right now that's going to say yes, that needs to be here today? Not who's the next person that will just take the spot. It was, because I have a list of those people. Yeah. It was who needs to do this? Like, what's important about this? You know, looks like one of our lights.
Yeah, we the light up there. I don't know what happened. The one right behind you up there.
Oh, I must not have been charged up enough. It's all right. You're still good. You still look fantastic.
Okay. Is the audience still here?
Yeah, they're still here.
Okay, I just couldn't see them with that light out now.
Oh yeah. So hey, is everybody still here?
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thanks, guys. There we go.
All right. But life happens for you.
That's my 40. That's my 40-year-old virgin face. Hi, Mom.
But if it does happen for you, you know, and it did happen for me today. Like, I'm glad that you came. And I told Jennifer that. I was like, hey, you know what? This other gal canceled, and I was really bummed. And then I just had this feeling like I need to hit up Bryan and ask him if he's available. And my thought was, no, don't. He's too busy. He's not going to be available. He's not going to take time. And then immediately after that, it was like, no. You have to do this.
That's right. Get out of the story. Just take action.
Take action.
That's right. Yeah. Action. I'm telling you, action. Like, if there's a few things I could tell people, it's like, life is happening for you. Action will solve most of your problems. And
action will trump skill any day.
Totally. Just get out and start doing it and realizing that it's happening for you. And like, bring your best self to each day, because you're giving yourself a chance to like really like get the juice of life. And I want to be the first to tell you, like, I think one of the biggest fallacies is everyone's like, oh, well, Alma's always a happy person. Bryan's always a happy person. Oh, he must have it all figured out. He's doing a men's group and doing a weekend retreat. He must have it all figured out.
I always hear it all the time. You have so much energy. And I'm like, except for when I'm not in front of this crowd. Yeah. Like, you know, I'm like, oh, I don't have energy when all the time, you know?
That's right. And so to me, it's like, I come back to these things. It's like, what charges me? And that's where I came, like, my three. So something I've learned this year, Alma, is like, I probably believe in more things than I know. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually okay with it through direct experience. is how I take my beliefs to my own personal
I love
knowledge
that.
and experience,
you
right?
Believe in more, you believe in more things than you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
And through direct experience is how I take beliefs into direct experience, right? So, obviously people think religion when I'm talking right now, but I'm actually just talking about life,
Right. Just existence.
just existing. Now, I do think that my beliefs around God, like I think they influence how I choose to show up, and my relationship with God is way healthier than it's ever been. Which adds to this conversation. But the three truths are like, my life is about authentic relationships. So what's interesting is before you come to the Evolution Project, I meditate on each person.
Do you really?
I really do. I sit there, and I don't know if you noticed this, but one of my goals when you first come, I want to receive you with love. So like, I really try to like reverence that first interaction where I'm like, hey, you're just on time. Everything's great.
Well, if you were ever
You're
guided,
there.
you called me Night Rider when I pulled up on my motorcycle.
Yeah. You were like, I am in the right place.
Dude, Night Rider was my hero when I was a kid. I had a Night Rider big wheel. If you want to like speak to my boyhood excitement and
Yes. It was
call
dope.
me, call me Night Rider.
And how you rolled up was actually pretty epic.
It really was.
So, but authentic relationships and then meaningful work. It's not a coincidence that I talk about the Evolution Project, because the truth is like, when I do real estate, don't get me wrong, when I am connected, I actually really enjoy it.
Right.
When I do the Evolution Project, what I love about it is it takes off a top where it's no longer in a real estate box anymore.
Right.
Where it's like, because think about it, in my real estate box, it's really like, are you buying or selling a house? Are you on my team? Essentially, right?
Right.
That's actually pretty limited in the scope of things. The Evolution Project, it's more like, hey, if you're a man and you're between 30 to 50 years old, and you have the ability to take off a Friday and you want to invest in yourself and you're looking for an experience.
Now, why 30 to 50? Explain that, because I understand it and I thought about that, but why 30 to 50?
I've just found that that's the people I speak to. I feel like if they're younger than that, they still need some more life experience. And I don't feel like the
And
conversation.
they need to have more traumas happen to them.
Well, I don't think, and maybe I need to, once again, I don't know. This is a belief.
Right,
This is not a knowledge.
Right.
But I wonder if, because I can just tell you, like, there is so much ego and narrative laced in like 20 to 30 that like maybe it would be a great conversation.
Yeah, you know, when I was in that range, this would not have affected me the way that it has.
That's what I'm
I would
saying.
not have even bought into it at all.
Oh, I think they were doing a party. They've been like, yeah, this is hippie. These guys are messed up.
Right. Yeah. These effed up guys that are trying to fix themselves, and they're
And then what I found is after
crusty
50,
old farts. Yeah.
after 50, it seems like the conversation is, they're just in a different phase of life. And like, I've had some people over 50 and like, I love those people, don't get me wrong, but I just found like they weren't connecting with the group as much.
Right.
And so right now I'm like, that's kind of my demographic. General rule of thumb is most of these people are entrepreneurial. Most of these people have some level of leadership or management in their life going on, right? Most of these people are married or at least have kids, right?
Right.
Most of these people have some kind of belief in a higher power. So, I mean, there's like some general things.
And I would say, you know, from my experience and just knowing some of the 50-year-olds and stuff are older that I know, I would say that there might be those guys out there that feel like they could still connect on that level and see a huge benefit in this, you know?
Yeah. Well, there were a couple of guys in our group that were a little over 50, but
Right.
like
Ish.
it was ish. Yeah.
It's 50-ish.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, I just want you to know I'm grateful you got on the podcast. I don't know if this is really like any great information about closing or sales. I mean, the correlation that I would actually put into sales is, and I said this before, but I didn't say it the right way. Real estate is not who I am, but who I am greatly affects what I do.
Right.
And I just think that it's an inside out game. And so like, you know, I've actually watched a couple of your episodes, like talking with people. One of the things that I've noticed is you're just trying to find common ground.
Right.
You're trying to help them solve a problem, and you're trying to sound different than the other people that are calling them, where they're just following a script so white
As far as the for
knuckled.
sale by owner calls and stuff.
That was the one that I watched.
Right.
Yeah. And it was great because I watched you I watched you through just good questions and listening, watch people's walls come down.
Right.
And they engage in conversation with you, and they're at least willing to meet with you. And I'm like, that's an authentic approach.
Right. I always go at it with the idea of I'm going to help and serve this person.
Yeah.
I'm going to help make their life better. And if it doesn't make their life better, it doesn't make sense for us to work together.
That's right.
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Like if nobody got anything else out of anything you did, but they were just like, I'm actually just going to approach people really just as a human and trying to help them because I'm going to get outside of my stuff and I'm just going to realize they've got their own stuff and I'm just trying to help
right.
them solve a problem. It's like, it just solves so many things. And so that's kind of like my loop into like, why would someone ever want to go to the Evolution Project? I'd be like, because you're human.
So
And-
tell me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. You're human. And if you're going to evolve and be more than just simply just existing, and you feel like there's another level that you need to accomplish, which I think if you don't feel that way, you're dead inside and something needs to change.
Yeah. Just sit down and with you, like, is it working?
Right. And are you happy with it? Yeah.
And what are you going to do about it?
Right.
That's the question everybody gets. And I think we're living in a time of life where COVID has awakened many people.
Yeah.
And it has forced them. I kind of joke around and say COVID was kind of like sending everybody to their room and making them stay up in their room. And they got bored and they're like, what's under the bed?
Right.
And they started to look in their boogeyman closets and they were like, oh my gosh, like, I don't love my job. I'm not happy in my marriage. I'm stuck right now. I never really dealt with these things.
Right.
I want to improve my relationships.
I actually want to have a life that is fulfilling and enjoyable.
Right.
Rather than mundane and daunting.
And this narrative that I'm following, like, may not be serving as much as I thought it was.
And it may not be my calling. May
Totally.
not be my mission. And we all decide what our mission is. We all decide what our calling is. It's our decision. I don't believe in fate on that level.
Yeah.
I think some things are guided. I think some ways we are served by our Creator. But I don't believe in fate. I don't believe that somebody tells us what to do and how to do it. I believe that we create every bit of it.
I love that, dude.
Yeah. So, dude, Bryan, thank you so much for coming in, man. This is what a gift, to have you here. I really appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you for living your mission. And I know it's hard to do things like this sometimes and create an environment like this and a system like this, and trying to get people to come and see the vision is a difficult thing. But thank you for doing it. Thank you for sacrificing your time. And this has like become a big commercial for the Evolution Project.
That's right.
But I'm glad because it has affected me so much that I'm thankful to be able to give back on some level.
Awesome.
And I hope that other people will take a moment and just investigate the idea. So let me ask you this. Where do they find the Evolution Project? Where do they find you at?
Yeah. So here, by the end of the year, I'm going to have the website up. It's called myevolutionproject.com.
Okay.
I bought the website.
Oh, nice.
I also bought yourevolutionproject.com. So I'm trying to figure out. I like my better than, but
use them both. Make them direct to the same page.
there we go. Hey,
Yep.
there's somebody that knows what they're going on.
Just go to the same page.
So I actually talked to someone that's helped me design a website right now. I have 4 events planned next year.
Okay.
And then there's a special
Are
event.
they all here in Utah?
They're all going to be here in Utah.
Okay.
And they're actually mostly going to be where we held the one.
Dude,
up
I
there.
don't care. I would have come from anywhere in the world to experience that.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So right now I'm just trying to I'm trying to keep it as like simple as possible. There's going to be one. Actually, take it back. There's a special edition one in St. George. It's a 3-day event.
Okay.
And then next September will be the next conversation in the Evolution Project, which is called Evolution 1, which is like it's a 3-day experience, and it's in addition to what we covered.
Okay. Cool.
So,
and I think at some point hopefully you'll do like reunions and stuff like that.
well, actually, when you're talking right now, that is actually the conversation I have with Louis. Is like we're going to do one before the end of the year. We're going to do a get together at his place.
Awesome.
And the get together, yes, absolutely. The reunion, that's right. Thank you, Alma. That's right.
Let's pay for our reunion.
No, the reunion's covered.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean,
Let me know how I can contribute on that, because I would love to be a part of that. Cool. Help contribute to that. So thank you so much, man. I appreciate you coming. I know that it was on the spur of the moment, but I'm glad that you came. And so real quick, tell me your your social media outlet where somebody can find you.
Okay, so if you can look at my name, Bryan Hurd,
Bryan,
Bryan, and then
Hurd.
Hurd. Instagram is BHurd2U, number 2U.
Okay.
And Evolution Project. You just look up Evolution Project, and you'll see like the logo, and you'll know that's it. Facebook and
Beautiful.
Instagram.
It means a lot to me, man. I'm thankful that you are here. So
thanks, Alma.
for all of you guys watching, thank you for jumping on Clozer Cult podcast. Again, my name's Alma Merrill, and thank you again to Bryan Hurd for being here.